Hello, this is part two of the IBEW practice exam on algebra and functions, continuing on the practice mode. So this is not timed. So when I do these problems, I'm going to take my time, but on the real exam, you shouldn't spend more than a minute on each problem. Okay, so let's start again on question 21. So question 21 says, y is equivalent to 10 times the value of x divided by 5. Which of the following choices represents the same relationship as the uh, aforementioned information? So basically, you got to find an equation from this piece of information, and we got to figure out which one is the true statement for these ones. So just looking at the choices A, B, C, D, there's nothing I can eliminate yet. Wait, actually, can we? Let's see. So you have can we come up with an equation of this? Yes. Y equals 10 times the value of x divided by 5. So how would I write that as equation? 10 times, so multiplication, the value of x divided by 5. So here's your equation. We got to figure out, this is, I think this is, yeah, this is still a linear. Uh, this is a linear equation with a slope of 10 fifths, or what's 10? Oh, we can actually simplify. What's 10 divided by 5? 2. It would be 2x. So which of these? So we can't eliminate any yet because they're all linear. So let's try A. Here we give a table. Here's your input, your x value, and then this spits out your y value or your output. So what if we do plug in 0? So let's look at the first x value, 0. What if we did plug in 0 into the function? What does it spit out? So it'd be 2 times 0, which is 0. So that's 0, true. What if I did 1? So that would be 2 times 1, which is 2. Looks good so far. What about 2? So that's 2 times 2, which is 4. Good. 3. That's 2 times 3. Oh, looks good. 6. And then 4. Y 4 is 2 times 4, which is 8. Okay, so this all looks good. I don't need to test any other ones. I mean, if you want, you'll see that it doesn't work. For example, uh, if we test the other table, so if you plug in -2, so if you go to this table and if you plug in -2, you're going to get 2 times -2, which is -4. That's wrong. It should spit out -5. So that's why you can eliminate the others. So the correct answer shall be A. Okay, let's move on. Question, wait, oh, we just did this one. 22. Consider the following table. So you have this table and they give you the x values and the y values. Which of the following choices represents the same relationship as the given table? Uh, what could we do with this table? Maybe, could we find an equation on 22? Do we even know if this is linear or not? Um, yeah, that's a good question. Is this based on this table or this piece of information? Is this a linear line? If so, can we find the equation? Because if you look at choice D is a polynomial. I mean, could you, yeah, because if you plot 0, comma -3, that is true on this polynomial, 0, comma -3, right? And if you plot uh 2, comma -1, no, that doesn't look right. If you plot 2, comma -1, no. So yeah, let's try to make a table. I mean, let's try to make an equation. So how do we find the equation of this? So let's pick 2 points. Let's use 0, comma, -3, and let's use 2, comma, -1. So from these 2 points, we could find the slope and the b. So I'm going to call this x1, y1, x2, y2, right? So my slope is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 is -1 minus y1 is -3. X2 is 2 minus x1 is 0. Two negatives become a positive, so 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 minus 0 is 2, which is 1. So you get y equal 1x plus b, and then we're lucky. So wait, do we know if this is linear? So yeah, we don't know. We could be linear, it could be a polynomial. So what you could do is pick another 2 points, two other random points of this on this table. So if I use 30, if I use 3.5, comma 0.5, 6, comma 3, you should get the same slope of 1. So yeah, I think if you, yeah, x1, y1, x2, y2. So when you do the formula, yes. Okay. Mm, what do I do next? So we know it's a linear and we know it's a slope, and our b is actually going to be -1. I mean -3. Why is my b -3? Because this is a y-intercept, right? So it's going to be y equals 1x minus 3. And then we got to see if this is, let's look at our choices. So if you look at question A, y is equivalent to the difference between the values of x and constant c where c equals -3. So where the constant is -3, that's true, but it's not equivalent to the difference between the values of x and a constant. No. So that's not A. What about B? Here you give us a ta it gives us a table. Does it relate to this function, y equals 1x minus 3? So if I plug in 10 into the function, you get 1 times 10 minus 3, and then 10 minus 3 is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 7. No. Nope. It's supposed to give you 7, so that's why it's not true. What about C? Let's see. Let me kind of clear this up. So here's our equation, y equals 1x minus 3 or x minus 3. Is this related to that equation? I believe so. Why? Because if you were to graph y equals 1x minus 3, we know my slope is 1 or 1 over 1, and my b is -3. So what you would do is plot it at -3, your b, and then do your rise over run. So our slope is positive 1 over 1. So you rise 1, right 1, dot. Rise 1, right 1, dot. Rise 1, right 1, dot. So this is the only thing that's true. So I'm going to say C. Okay, let's move on to 23. Consider the following graph, y equals mx plus b. So Here you have this graph. Um, graph A is okay. Let's find graph. So I think we should find the equation of this graph. So how do we find the equation of this graph? So what I'm going to do is pick two exact points on this graph. So I see an exact point of this point. That's like 0, comma 2. And that's a good point because that's a y-intercept. And then I'm going to use this point. So you can use any other points. You could have used this point, but these points are just easier to deal with. So from these 2 points, I have to somehow come up with the equation y equals mx plus b. So do we know my m and do we know our b? Don't know what my m is, but I think I know what my b is. What do you think my b is? Or my y-intercept? Yes, it's 2. Because it's this 0, comma 2 is a y-intercept, right? So all we got to do is find the slope. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be y2, which is 0, minus my y1, which is 2. My x2 is 4, minus my x1 is 0. So 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 4 minus 0 is 4. Reduce. So this is negative 1/2. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 1/2 x, and my b is 2. So here's our equation. Let's see what we can do with these. So which of the following is true regarding to this graph? Graph A is a function of the same slope and the same intersection point on the y with the y-axis. So they're saying, does this graph is this a graph exactly the same? Well, it may have the same y-intercept, but it doesn't have the same slope. Our slope is negative 1/2. This is definitely wrong because the slope is positive because it's going to the right. So we can forget about A. What about B? Y equals a 1/2 x plus 2 has the same y equals 1/2 x has a different slope and the same interception. Same y intersection. No. Our y-intercept was no, actually I think that's true, right? This is our B. Y equals 1/2 x minus 2 has a different, oh, I didn't read the question correctly. Has a different slope. So our slope was negative 1/2. That is definitely different from positive 1/2, but has the same y-intercept. That's true. Our y-intercept is positive 2. This slope is 1/2. Their slope is my slope is negative 1/2, so they're different. So I think this is the only one that's a true statement. What about C? Has the same slope? Nope. Our slope is negative 1/2 is not negative 2. What about D? Different slope and a different point. No. I think the correct answer is B. Yep. Okay. 24 says which of the graph represents the following two linear equations? They're both linear lines. We have x plus y equals 3 and x minus y equals 1. They're both linear lines, just they're in standard form. So what you could do is you could graph each individual linear lines, right? You can graph each individual lines, or you could find the point of intersection. So I'm going to do point of intersection. I think that would be easier. So let's find the point of intersection, or also known as solution. So how do we do this? And when we have a system equation, what I'm going to do is do the elimination method. The reason why is because one of the letters cancels immediately. So let's start with the x, like the y's cancel. If you add them up vertically, sometimes you have to multiply a number uh, to each equation or just one. But this one, the y's cancels immediately. So if you added x plus x, that's 2x. If you added y, negative y, that cancels. If you added 3 plus 1, that's 4. Divide this by 2. You get x equals 2. Then how do you find the y? So you're going to plug in the y. To find the y, you can plug in your 2 back into your either this equation or this one. It doesn't really matter. If I plug it into here, that's 2 plus y equals to 3. Track 2, you get y equals 3 minus 2 is 1. So your point of intersection is at 2, comma 1. So which one of these has a point of intersection at 2, comma 1? Uh, is it this one? No, it looks like the point of intersection is at 2, comma negative 1. We want 2, comma positive 1. Is it B? Here's 2, here's 1. Yes. What about, let's look at the other one just in case they have the same point of intersection. C is parallel. They do not intersect at all. D is also parallel. They don't intersect. So I think the best choice would be this point, graph B. Okay, question 5. So it looks like we have some kind of proportion and we got to solve for your K. So on this one, could you plug in each values for K? Like if you plug in 1 and 1/3, it should equal to 612. You could do that. That would be kind of long, time consuming. You only have like a minute for each problem, so I wouldn't recommend. Instead, what I would do is try to solve for K. So how would I solve for K? So since there's only two sides, right? You have a left and you have the right, you could just cross multiply. The other option is you can get rid of the fraction by multiplying all sides by LCD, right? That's another option. I'm just gonna cross multiply. This 612, before I cross multiply, I can reduce 612, so that's what I'm gonna do. That's gonna be k plus 3 over 14 minus k equals. Then I'm gonna reduce 612 as they both could be reduced by 6, so that would be 1 over 12 divided by 6 is 2. Okay, so then I'm gonna cross multiply, so that's gonna be 2 times k plus 3 equals 1 times 14 minus k. Okay, I'm gonna multiply this out, so this is gonna be 2k plus 6. And then this is gonna be 1 times 14, that's 14 minus k. And I'm gonna solve for k, so maybe I could add k to both sides. 2k plus 1k is 3k plus 6 equals to 14. Subtract 6 from both sides. You get 3k, and then 14 minus 6 is, I think it's 8. And then you're going to divide both sides by 3, and you get k equals 8 thirds. But you don't see our option because they're all mixed fractions. This is improper, right? If the numerator is bigger than the denominator, it's improper. So let's make this mix. So what you could do is do long division. And then like how many times is 3 going to 8? About not 3, that's too much. How about 2? 3 times 2 is 6, and then 8 minus 6 is 2. So you get 2, and then you have a remainder of 2 divided by whatever you're dividing. So it's 2 and 2/3, so that is letter D. Okay, good. Evaluate evaluate the expression for x equals 11 and y equals 3x over 11. So, should I do 26? So, the best thing I would do is plug in what you have. I tried doing this by finding the LCD and, simplifying, but that just made it more confusing. So I think the best option is just plug in your values. So they say that x is 11 and y is 3x over 11. So go ahead and plug that back in. So it's 4 times x, which is 11, plus 1, over 4 times y, which is 3x over 11, minus 3, plus 4 times y. Y is 3x over 11, minus 3. And then it's 4 times x, which is 11, plus 1. Okay. You can just simplify this. So 4 times 11 is 44, plus 1, that's 45. Oh, I realized this. I just realized. On the bottom, you have a 3x. They said that x is 11, so you got to do like a double substitution. So it's 4 times 3 times x, which is 11 over 11, which is nice because what happens is things cancel. So you might have to do it. We have to definitely do a double substitution. So it's going to be 4. Right here, I'm going to do a double substitution. So it's 3 times x. X is 11 over 11 minus 3. And then this is going to be 4 times 11 plus 1. So that's 45. These 11s cancels. And then you have 4 times 3, which is 12. And then you still have this minus 3. Plus, over here, the 11 cancels. And then you're left with 4 times 3 is 12. Minus 3. And then on the bottom, what's 4 times 11? 44. Plus 1. Okay, you can clean this up now. So it's going to be 45. What's 12 minus 3? 9. Plus 12 minus 3 is 9. 44 plus 1 is 45. Um, so what is 45 over 9 plus 9 over 45? Oh, simplify first. So you're adding fractions. So what is 45 divided by 9? That is 5. What's 9 over 45? That could be reduced by 9. So that would be 1 over 45 divided by 9 is 5. Now you can add a subtraction, add this fraction. So what's 5 plus 1/5? This has a denominator of 1. So LCD is 5. So multiply top and bottom by 5. So that's 25 plus 1 is 26 over 5. You don't see our answer because we have to make we have to convert this to a decimal. So without a calculator, you could just do long division. So 26 and then 5. How many times does 5 go into 26? About 5 times. 26 minus 25 is 1. So which one? I think you can eliminate all these A, B, C, right? Because yours is 5, and if they want it as a decimal, you would do is put a decimal here after 5, and then bring down the 0. How many times does 5 go into 10? Twice. So that is why it's D. Okay, let's move on to 27. Evaluate the formula T equals 1 over F and F small f equals W over 2 pi. Find T. Oh, okay. So if big T is 1 over F and then F is small f is W over 2 pi, we have a complex fraction, right? So this is your numerator and then this is your denominator. Okay, so it's going to be 1 over 1 divided by W over 2 pi. Okay, so you could either cross multiply or I'm going to just cross multiply. So 1 times 2 pi is 2 pi, and then 1 times W is W. So it looks like that would be letter A. Okay, solve the following system equation. Uh, so you could literally, if you don't want to solve it using elimination, you could just literally test each point back into both equation. If they're true, that means correct. So if you're really on a time limit, like if you're like really don't want to do elimination, you could just test each values. For example, -2 comma y, you can plug that into the first and the second. If they equal to the right, or if it's a true statement, they have to be true for both statement. That means that's the answer. I'm just going to do elimination. It looks like I'm gonna have, what letter do I want to get rid of? I think I'll get rid of the y's because you have a -2y, so I'm gonna make that into a positive 4y. So I'm gonna have to multiply this by -2. So the first equation stays true. The second, you got to FOIL out that -2. So -2 times 3 is -6x. -2 times -2y is positive 4y. -2 times 10 is -20. Add them out vertically so the y's cancels. What about 2x minus 6x? What's 2x minus 6x? -4x, right? 2x minus 6x is -4x. And then what's 12 minus 20? -8. And then divide this by -4. You get -8 over -4 is positive 2. So our x value is 2, so you can eliminate A, C, and then it's either B or D. So how do you find the y? So what you do is plug in 2 back into your original equation. So you could plug it back to here. You can also plug it back to here, as long as do not plug it here because you multiply that -2. So as long as it's original. So if I plug in it back here, x is 2, so it's 2 times 2 minus 4y equals 12. So 2 times 2 is 4 minus 4y equals to 12. Solve for y, so I'm going to subtract 4. What is 12 minus 4? 8. And then I'm going to solve for y by dividing both sides by -4. And you get y equals to 8 divided by -4 is -2. So you get 2 and -2, which is letter D. Okay, let's move on to this one, question 29. Okay, question 29 says, which of the following graph represents the function y equals 0.2x? So there's a lot you could do. You don't have to graph it nicely. There's a lot you can eliminate, right? In this graph, our slope is positive 0.2, and we don't have a b or a y-intercept, so our b value is 0, which means it has to go through the origin. So there's only one that goes through the origin, right? It's not letter B. It doesn't have a y-intercept that goes through the origin. It's not A. D, it's not D. It's the only, wait, I think it is D. Wait, D goes through the origin and it has a positive slope of 0.2. I don't know if I can really do this zero exactly rise over run, but it does go through the origin, right? And it has a positive slope of 0.2. So there's a good chance my answer for 29 is letter D. Yeah. Okay, what about this one? Which of the following graphs it gives you the graph y equals -4x plus 8? So just try to eliminate what you don't, just try to eliminate. So our slope is, uh, my slope is -4 over 1, and my b is 8. Um, so we can eliminate few, which graphs are only negatives? It's not this graph, right? That going positive. It's not C. I don't even think it's A because that's still positive. So the only graph that goes negative, I think it's B. Yeah, B is the only one that has a graph has a negative slope, right? D's, yeah, D, A, they're all positive. So B is the only one that has a negative slope. So I'm gonna say letter B. 31, evaluate the value of the unknown variable, and you have D equals 18, E equals 9, F equals 3, and G equals 1. Find letter H. So what I would do is just plug it in. I wouldn't find the common denominator and do all that. I would just plug in. I think it's just much easier to just plug in your values. So that's what exactly what I'm going to do. So D is 18, so it's going to be 18. And then it's E minus F, so it's 9 minus F, which is 3, plus D, which is 18. And then it's F minus G, so F is 3, minus G, which is 1, all over E minus G. So E is 9, and then my G is 1. And then that should give you H. Wait, 18? And then 9 minus 3 is 6. And then 3 minus 1 is 2. And then 9 minus 1 is 8. Okay, 18 divided by 6 is 3. 18 times 2 divided by 8, without a calculator. 18 times 2 is 36, all over 8. And then now all we got to do is add this fraction and we need to find an LCD. Maybe I could reduce 36 over 8. What can 36 over 8 be reduced by? Maybe 4? Then you got 3 over 1 plus 36 divided by 4 is 9. I mean, 36 divided by 4 is, yeah, 9. And then, wait, 36 divided by 4. Yeah, 9 times 4 is 36. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, now you can add the fraction. So my common denominator between 1 and 2 is 2. So my LCD is 2. So you're going to multiply this top and bottom by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then 6 plus 9 is 15. And then what's 15 over 2? I don't see my answer because it's not, yeah. How many times does 2 go into 8? 15. How about 8 times 2 is 16? Yeah. 7 times 2 is 14. So 7 times 2 is 14. 15 minus 14 is 1. So if it's a so it's either B or C. So we need a decimal. So plug in, bring down the 0. How many times does 2 go into 10? 5. So 7.5. Okay. Let's move on to 32. We have x, y equals AB over C plus D over F. We gotta isolate C, find C. So what can I do? Um, there's a lot you could do. You could get rid of the fraction first, or I just realized this. I could subtract DF because we are dealing with, yeah, if you look at our choices, there's a subtraction. So I'm going to subtract D over F on both sides. So you get X, Y minus D over F equals to AB over C. And then how am I going to solve for C? Um, mm, I could get rid of the fraction now, or what could I just multiply both sides by the reciprocal of AB over C? So C over AB. I think it would just give you one. You could just get rid, okay, maybe I could, maybe I could just get rid of the fraction now. So this has a one here. This is a denominator F. This is a denominator C. So my LCD is going to be FC, right? You have a one here. We have an F there. We have a C there. So my LCD is FC. So you're going to multiply both sides by FC. So hopefully that'll get rid of the fraction. So what's FC times XY? That's FC XY minus what's FC times this? F's canceled. What's minus CD? And then here, what's FC times AB over C? the C's canceled, and then you're left with A, B, F. Yeah, A, B, F. Okay, now we gotta solve for C. Um, yeah, this was not a good idea, but here, let's write FCXY as FCXY minus C over T minus ED equals ABF. And let's find, what should we find? Oh, we gotta find C. So, um, first, maybe I would subtract FCXY, subtract FCXY. So you get negative CD equals ABF minus FCXY. And then what I'm going to do is solve for C. So I'm going to get rid of this minus, and then I'm going to get rid of this D. So I'm going to divide everything by negative D, negative D. So the D's cancels, this minus cancels, so we're left with C equals A, B, F over negative D minus F, C, X, Y over negative D. Oh, look, they both have a negative D. So when you simplify this, you should get letter D. It should simplify this. Is there an easier way? Um, yeah, you could have just got rid of the fraction immediately by multiplying all sides by CF. That's an option. But you could, yeah, do it this way either way. So, my correct answer is letter D. Okay, question 33. Isolate the variable from the formula. We got to find D1. This one's not too bad. You could just cross multiply, right? You have big A equals D1 times D2 all over 2. We want to find D1. So what you could do is cross multiply, or I'm just going to get rid of the fraction, or actually just cross multiply. So what's 2 times A? That'd be 2A equals, what's 1 times D1, D2? That's D1, D2. We got to find D1, so I'm going to divide both sides by D2. So I get D1 equals to 2A over D2. So that would be letter B. I think that wasn't too bad, right? Uh, oh my gosh, that's the last one. Yeah, that was the last question. So, we can do another practice exam. Um, yeah, I'm gonna stop here. That was the last question for the practice mode, um, test one.